Has he ever told you that you won't be able to touch his military retirement, anything to that effect?
He did tell me I won't be able to touch his VA benefits and that he was going to fight this. He went into business earlier this year with another man. He didn't want to sign any of the other paperwork because he didn't want his name on anything, because he's also on child support for a daughter that he has never met before that's about 13. So he is trying to avoid that. It's supposed to be like his business and they pay monthly membership. So it's not really an hourly job if he is in ownership.
Even if dad doesn't want to have anything to do with the child, he still has rights because under the law he can change his mind.
Asking for a final order. State pled for non-disclosure, but I believe mom will testify that she doesn't have any safety concerns. The evidence, I believe, is going to show that dad has DFAS as well as is working as a taekwondo instructor. So going to be asking the judge to take Bureau of Labor statistics for the calculation, requesting retroactive support on this one. I believe mom is going to be asking for a sole managing conservatorship, not because of violence, but just because dad has been not a part of the child's life and doesn't appear to be willing to be a part of the child's life.
Okay, I don't want to go too far or stop you too quick there, sir. But ma'am, that's not going to be sufficient for a finding of the court for joint management service basis managing conservators, ma'am. I've got to have a legal reason to do so, and inactivity is probably not going to do it. But I'll listen to why you say you want that, ma'am. But again, unless you meet that threshold, then I've got to name him a joint managing. You may proceed, Mr. Diamond. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. I believe the court will probably want to order some sort of a step-up visitation plan, but I'll leave that at the court's discretion. I believe mom is asking that there not be geographic restriction in place due to dad's lack of involvement. And Ms. McCall's mother lives in New Jersey, and I think Ms. McCall would like to have that option to move to New Jersey if necessary. I think that about and I believe that the testimony will be that there's government health coverage. So we're going to be asking for cash medical. Ms. Smith, did you conduct a wage investigation in this case?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what did you find?
Regarding the wages that were released, I've got wages from DFAS, from military, showing a first quarter of 2023 is $5,217.
Okay, and did you find some other quarters as well?
That is the only one able to look. Oh, no, I fibbed to you. You're right. I've got fourth quarter 2022 is at $4,939. And third quarter of 2022 is at $4,800.
Okay, and so what's the gross monthly that you calculated on dad's DFAS?
I had that, but let me double check myself, just make sure I got my number correct here. One moment. So with those 3 quarters in mind, I'm looking at monthly of $1,661 gross.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'll pass a witness, Your Honor.
And ma'am, again, what was the most recent quarter you have for the gentleman?
Most recent is first quarter of 2023.
All right. Is there any indication that he's still not working for DFAS at this time?
I have not found that, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. I'll try to get that testimony from the mother. Anyway, Ms. McCall, do you have any questions of CSO Smith?
No, I don't believe so.
All right. May CSO Smith be excused, Mr. Diamond?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. You may proceed. Thank you.
And who is the child the subject of this suit?
Chloe Renee McCall.
And who is Chloe's father?
Antonio James Acosta.
Is there any doubt about that?
No.
Do you expect any other children with Mr. Acosta?
No.
Were you and Mr. Acosta together when Chloe was born?
We were never a couple.
Was he present for her birth?
No.
How would you describe his involvement in Chloe's life up to this point?
It's been less than when he first saw her. He hasn't seen her since June 2nd. And I've asked him just a lot of times, and he always has an excuse of why he can't. He's too busy, or told me to just let it happen naturally.
Has he ever had Chloe overnight?
No.
What's the longest visit that he's done with Chloe?
45 minutes.
Okay. Do you have any safety concerns with him visiting Chloe?
No.
Are there any safety concerns with him knowing where you live?
No.
let's talk about health coverage. What do you do for health coverage for Chloe?
She has Medicaid.
And let's talk about Mr. Acosta's work. What does he do for a living? Do you know?
He's a taekwondo instructor, and
Okay.
he's supposed to have 50-50 partnership with his business partner at the FCI Gym.
Okay. Your Honor, at this point, I'd offer states one.
All right, before we offer states one, ma'am, is he still working for the military in any manner, way, shape, or form that you know of?
No,
This is the occupational employment wages statistics for this metropolitan area of Killeen, Texas, and it shows what someone who does with Mr. I forgot his name that quick. Sorry about that.
Acosta, Your Honor.
So Acosta does for a living. Any objection to states one coming in evidence to show what the average person would make that does what he does for a living in this area, ma'am?
no.
All right, states one's admitted. You may proceed, Mr. Diamond. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. And so in this, Ms. McCall, occupation 39-9031, exercise trainers and group fitness instructors, is that what we're asking the court to take notice of?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, and I show about $18 an hour is what a fitness instructor is. It makes according to the federal government. Can you accept that number?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about his benefits. Is your understanding that do you have reason to believe that Mr. Acosta is still receiving benefits from the Army?
Yes, he does.
Okay, and what do you base that off of?
I know that he's told me he has VA and his kids have some sort of medical coverage through the military, but I don't know exactly what it is.
Okay, has he ever told you that you won't be able to touch his military retirement, anything to that effect?
He did tell me I won't be able to touch his VA benefits and that he was going to fight this.
And do you believe that he was receiving the military retirement when Chloe was born?
Yes, sir.
And has he been working as a taekwondo instructor since Chloe was born?
Yes, sir.
And I intend to ask the court for retroactive child support. Do you have any objection to that?
No, sir.
Let's talk about the support that he's provided. Has he given you any cash to help out with Chloe?
Yeah. Back in August of 2022, we were discussing my financial situation, and he said, would it help you if I paid that $140 a month in daycare? I said, yeah, that would be great. Every time I asked him or told him, hey, it's due today, I don't want to get a late fee, he would say, well, I don't have it, give it to me late, maybe only part of it. And I've wrote down the months that he did pay, which were September of 2022, October, November, December. In January, he told me that he hasn't got paid yet all month. He didn't pay for February.
So I'm sorry, we're really running on here. It sounds like the short version is you both had an agreement. He mostly didn't follow through on that agreement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I believe earlier you calculated $1,135. That's the total that he actually paid you, even though it was far less than he had promised to pay you.
That's correct.
Okay, so do you have any objection to the court giving him a credit of that $1,135 against whatever retroactive support is ordered?
No.
Okay, and did he provide anything else?
He's bought about 4 boxes of diapers since she's been born. Last winter, he did buy her some clothes and toys. The last time he bought her any toys was of January of 2023.
What would you like Chloe's name to be?
I would prefer that she only keep my last name, but if I had to add his name, it would be Chloe Renee McCall Acosta.
So McCall - Acosta, if it has to be that way?
Yes, sir.
And I believe that does it, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness.
All right, ma'am. How much time does he actually do being an instructor of well, I'll just say karate at this point because all those different kinds. So does he do that at 40 hours a week, or is that a 20-hour-a-week job? What are we talking about, ma'am?
I'm not sure of how many hours that he does per week. He's been doing it since 2015. Maybe just a few hours a night, but it was his business. So he went into business earlier this year with another man. He didn't want to sign any of the other paperwork because he didn't want his name on anything, because he's also on child support for a daughter that he has never met before that's about 13. So he is trying to avoid that pay.
And where's this business located?
Um,
Or do you know the name of it?
I wrote, it's the dojo.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes.
Any other questions of this witness, Mr. Diamond?
No, Your Honor, rest subject to close.
All right, then. Tell you what, ma'am, I'm gonna go ahead and let the state make a closing, and then if there's anything else after the state's completed their closing that you think I need to know, I'll let that come out at this point. And you may proceed, Mr. Diamond. Thank you.
I calculated, you heard testimony from Ms. Smith that the gross monthly off of the DFAS was $1,661.78. I'd ask the court to use that number. I calculate based off the Bureau of Labor Statistics gross monthly on the taekwondo at $3,120.
Mr. Diamond, you know, the norm is for businesses like that only to operate in the evening, obviously after school and after work. And so and if he operates on the week, you know, and that's usually 4 hours a day. So I'm probably looking at maybe 28 hours, 20 for the week and 8 for the for Saturdays. But for 40 hours, that's usually not a 40-hour a week business, just based on the times that they can be open where they can actually get customers, sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor. How many, will you say again, Your Honor, how many hours you wanted me to calculate off of?
28, yeah, all day Saturday, and then 4 hours, 5 days a week. So that's, again, I've had to deal with a couple of those things, and those shops, my recollection were, you know, from 5:30 to 9 or something like that. So yeah.
And I beg the court's pardon here. I should have elicited some testimony. I believe he has 2 other children, one that lives with him, and he's on support for the other, and he probably needs to get a credit for that. So I'd ask if I could reopen to ask those questions, Your Honor.
I know she testified that he's on child support. So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that either. So let's find out the total amount of children we think he's legally obligated to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So Ms. McCall, how many minor children does he have total?
2.
And do either of those children live with him?
One of them.
Okay, and the one who does not live with him, is that child is he on child support for that child?
Yes, sir.
Okay, a pass witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then, Ms. McCall, I'm gonna go ahead and have the state look at those calculations again. Again, ma'am, it's been the court's experience, personal experience, that yeah, those are not 8-hour-a-day circumstances, except on weekends, on Saturdays. So
yes, I understand, but it's supposed to be like his business, and they pay monthly membership, so it's not really an hourly job if he is in ownership.
okay, well, here's the deal, ma'am. Right now, I don't have his specific information available. The only thing the state is requesting me to use here at this point is the average that someone in his position would make. Now, obviously, there are ways to find out how much someone actually earns, but you know, it's subpoenas, and it's records, and it's depositions, and it's expensive as all get out to do that. And the state doesn't normally do that because they don't set up doing subpoenaing someone to show up for a deposition and making them bring in all their financial records. And if they fail to do so, the court can sanction them and all this, all these other things. You know, this is what can happen. But for right now, the only thing I have is this general information. And based on the general information, I would have a problem doing anything above those times, ma'am. If you want to seek your own legal counsel and subpoena the guy and make him bring his bank records and his business records and everything else that's normal for a business like this, I can set this up as a temp and allow you the opportunity to see about doing that. But otherwise, ma'am, I'm really going to be hard pressed speculating what he's actually doing as far as contracts he may or may not have with his customers, ma'am.
Oh, yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I can speculate based on what the statistics are, but I can't speculate on specifics as far as contracts are concerned, ma'am. I have to have those specifics. But anyway, I'll let the state continue and tell you what they're looking at, and then we'll see about whether or not you want to make this attempt and see if you want to see about this, if you can get other data on the gentleman. Thank you.
28 hours, I calculate a gross monthly of $2,184. I'm sorry, can Your Honor see the screen?
Yes, I can.
So $2,184 is what I calculate based on the taekwondo instructor, and still $1,661.78 based on the DFAS. So I show a total gross monthly of $3,845.78. I calculated for the one child $58 on the cash medical. It's like 173 something for all three, but I went ahead and gave him the benefit of the doubt that he's paying Medicaid on the other two. He's probably not, but I'm not trying to rake him over the coals here. So $58 is what I'd ask for in the cash medical, and I calculate guideline child support at $530.57. So I would ask the court to make that $531, and I think it would probably be in the best interest of the child if that were to start this month, but I can understand why the court might want to start that in October. And then I'm going to share one more screen if I may. As far as the retro goes, Your Honor, I calculated 21 months at $531, which would be $11,151. Gave a credit for the $1,135 in cash that he provided, which left $10,000 and some change. The interest on that is right around $50. So I would ask that he be ordered to repay $100 a month on the retro, Your Honor. I believe the
child support at 531, retro at 100, and the judgment of right at 10,000 on the retroactive child support, giving him credit, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, proceed.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I believe the evidence doesn't get us to non-disclosure on this case. And I leave the court's discretion as far as custody if the court wanted to do step-up visits or not.
Oh yeah, we're definitely doing that. So all right, ma'am. The state's asking for the 10,000 in back child support repayment, current child support at 531, plus a repayment of 100 on the back child support. I'll go ahead and start the first day of September, but I can't, ma'am, I can't do it if I could never use that date as an motion for enforcement date, but I can't go ahead and set it up to start that date. But obviously going forward, if we were looking at the October, November, January, December, January, so forth and so on. Ma'am, the law is I'm supposed to name you both joint managed conservator unless I can find a legal reason not to do so. A lack of interest of the father in the child is not a legal reason. And believe me, I get this one at least in 15-20% of my cases. Dads just some dads, and rarely it's a mom that doesn't want to have anything to do with the child. But unfortunately, I've still got to give them the rights because under the law, they can change their mind. I've seen that happen too. So I'm looking at having to name you both joint managed conservators, giving you the right to decide domicile. That right's unrestricted. I will go ahead and grant, like I said, you can move anywhere you want to as per your circumstances, ma'am. I'll also go ahead and look at giving him a graduated visitation schedule, which means that he has to do, and I'll, ma'am, you don't plan on moving to New Jersey anytime soon, do you?
No, sir.
All right, then. So I'll make the graduated visitation schedule at the 6 levels, where the first 6 he has to come by. And how old is the child again? I'm sorry.
She's 20 months.
She's 20 months. Okay. So until she reaches, so she'll be 24 months. She'll be 2 years and a couple of months. All right. So long as she's under the age of, so I'm gonna start out, ma'am, with he has to do 6 visits at each level before he gets the standard visitation. He has to do 6 visits where you're present on the first, third, and 5th Saturdays of the month. Then he has to do 6 visits for 4 hours where you're not present. Then 6 visits where he has all day, and then finally 6 visits where he gets overnight. And then once he does all 24 visits, I'll give him standard visitation, except for summer. I will allow, if he does go out and completes everything, then I'll give him a standard visitation for the holidays and for spring break, Christmas, and all that. And but until the child reaches the age of 3, his summer visitation, if he does move all the way up and get the standard, instead of 30 days, I'll give him 2 weeks summer visitation from the 1st of July to the 14th of July. That's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo here, ma'am. I'm going to go. I'll ask you if this. Oh, I'm sorry. And based on everything I've heard, ma'am, I do have to put Mr. Costa's name in there. And you want it at what McCall first and Costa second. Is that correct, ma'am?
That's correct. If it has to be, I mean, he's really never involved. I've been trying to get him to come visit her, but he.
Okay, well, here's the deal, ma'am. It's not about you and him. It's about the child. You know,
right.
Adopted kids go looking for their birth parents. They want to know their names. And years ago, as a lawyer, on 2 separate occasions, I was hired by a step parent to change the last name of the child to reflect that of the real father, because the one guy says, "I just got tired of hearing that teenage brat wanting I want my daddy's name. I want my daddy's name. I'll pay for you to give him his daddy's name, and we'll go." So yeah. And believe me, man, even back in those days, it was $2,500 in attorney fees. So yeah, it happened. You know, kids are kids, and teenagers are teenagers. And the law says it's in the best interest that dad's name be in there. So I need to put it in there unless there's a legal reason not to. So there you go. Do you want a hyphen in there, ma'am, or just by itself?
Yeah. Yes, Your Honor. You can hyphenate it. That's fine.
All right. Again, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, are they going to send me some documents and him some documents about today since he wasn't here?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. The document will be the order in this case, and I'm looking at making this a final order based on the information I have. You always have the right to re-petition the court in the next 30 days if you do find out that he's making a ton more money than we can speculate or can postulate based on the information we have. And to reopen this matter for the next 30 days. Otherwise, it will be a final order, and in that order, it'll say all this, and you can take that final order and send it down to the Bureau of Statistics and get the birth certificate changed once that's done, ma'am. But you do legally need to do that, because thanks to the Patriot Act, it's always a good idea to make sure all legal documentation concerning name changes are formally filed with the appropriate I'll start to say facility, appropriate bureau, and the state of Texas, that's the Bureau of Statistics and do birth certificates. Okay.
Oh, yes, Your Honor. And will I receive these documents by mail or email?
You'll receive them by DocuSign through your email account, ma'am, and you can sign off on them at that point. You can review them, sign off on them. Signing off on them don't mean you agree with them. It just means this was the order. And once you get it on DocuSign, you can actually download that. And then you can wait. And at a later date, once I sign off on it, you can get a certified copy from the district clerk of Coryell County.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Also, is it okay if I ask Mr. Diamond about my work letter? I don't know if he.
I still owe you that.
That's definitely them, not me, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Ms. McCall?
I guess I will just wait for the documents, and I guess on the child support website will guide me how to sign up for direct deposit to receive payments. And
yes, ma'am. That's all set up by you.
Okay, and then he'll receive documentation on what he's supposed to do.
Well, ma'am, again, county by county is different, but he will get a default notice that he was defaulted and this was the court order.
What is a default notice?
That's a notice from the county district clerk saying, noticing him that there was an order that was granted based on him not appearing. That's the default part. And I'm not sure if they sent out the whole order or just that default notice, ma'am. But obviously, the default notice does have the cause number and the title of the document in it.
Okay. And
if you want to, once you get a copy, ma'am, you can send them a copy of yours if you want to. Okay.
Okay. And a default notice just means you didn't appear. Are there any repercussions for that?
No, ma'am, there's not. But it gives him the opportunity to ask the court for a rehearing or a new trial or whatever he wants to. But again, that's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo unless he's got a legal reason for him not showing up, and I can't anticipate one right now. The court obviously doesn't have to grant him any relief he requests post order unless there's a legitimate legal reason to do so, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Not a problem, Ms. McCall. Anything else, Mr. Diamond?
Your Honor, if I can put Ms. McCall in a breakout room, so I can get her this letter for her work, and I want her to take a look at it and make sure that it's going to satisfy her boss before I send her off.
Good enough then. We're officially off the record, ma'am, and good luck.